I'm Luke Worsham, and you're listening to the Tuesday Titans Tossup here on A to Z Sports. Happy to be presenting you with this inaugural edition of the Tuesday Titans Tossup. What we're going to do is every Tuesday during the offseason, we're going to toss up a topic, or I guess more specifically, I am going to toss up a topic that we're going to talk about for around 8 to 10 minutes, and we'll give you everything you guys need to know about the topic. There will be plenty of opinions, plenty of analysis, and I'm glad to have you all here with me. Our first Tuesday Titans Toss-Up topic is going to be new Titans passing game coordinator, Tim Kelly. The Titans hired Tim Kelly last week to be their new passing game coordinator. He also gets the title of senior offensive assistant. And a lot of fans, particularly those who are already wanting Titans offensive coordinator Todd Downing to lose his job, got very, very excited about this hire. And I think people might have gotten even more excited after Mike Vrabel told the Titans website that he wants Tim Kelly to have a similar role for the Titans offense that Jim Schwartz has for the Titans defense. And the reason that made a lot of people excited is that under Jim Schwartz, with him as senior defensive assistant in 2021, the Titans defense grew by leaps and bounds. And we'll get into some of the ways that happened in just a minute. But a lot of people jumping to the conclusion that, well, they hired Jim Schwartz, the defense got better. They hired Tim Kelly, and this problematic Titans offense that scored just 3 times out of 18 opening drive opportunities and that turned the ball over at least 3 times in 6 games. Right, a lot of people are saying, well, Jim Schwartz fixed the defense, so now Tim Kelly's going to come right in and fix the offense, right? Well, I don't know about that. And we're going to talk about 3 main reasons why I don't know about that, why I think you should hold your horses with thinking that Tim Kelly or his presence is going to transform the Titans offense. First, we need to distinguish between Tim Kelly and Jim Schwartz. Because when Jim Schwartz joined the Titans, he was already seen as one of the really, really good defensive coordinators in the NFL. He had a Super Bowl ring from his time with the Philadelphia Eagles. He'd previously had a successful stint with the Titans back in the early to mid-2000s as their defensive coordinator. Additionally, Jim Schwartz was a head coach of the Lions, took them to a playoff appearance, and consistently had strong defenses with them. Jim Schwartz was a proven and established defensive scheme guy, if you will, in the NFL. Tim Kelly on offense is just not that. Because whereas you can sit here and very easily tout Jim Schwartz's resume, the things he's done, right? I just did that. It becomes a little bit more difficult with Tim Kelly. What are his accomplishments? Making Davis Mills look not that bad. Having a middle-ranked offense with Deshaun Watson in 2019. Tim Kelly's done good things, don't get me wrong, but it's not like he's some kind of offensive savant or even anywhere close to that in the way that Jim Schwartz proved over his tenure with the Eagles, Lions, and Titans prior to this stint that he was with defense. So that distinction is important when comparing the two. Also important when comparing the two is understanding that Jim Schwartz did not single-handedly turn around the Titans' defense in 2020. I'm sure he helped. I'm sure that the intel and the insight that he brought to Mike Vrabel and defensive coordinator Shane Bowden certainly helped them streamline some of their problems, and we're going to get into those problems next. He helped, but he was not the only solution. Shane Bowden had a great year in 2021 as a Titans defensive coordinator, scheming up plays, calling great schemes to get the Titans talent into position to make plays. And speaking of the talent, it got tremendously better in 2021. Right? We didn't have to watch Jonathan Joseph and Jadeveon Clowney running around out there looking like they didn't know what they were doing. John Robinson, with a very aggressive and ultimately successful offseason push, revitalized the talent on that Titans defense. He was able to get younger, bringing in or allowing Amani Hooker to step into a starting role in the secondary, allowing Christian Fulton to step into a starting role in the secondary, drafting Elijah Molden, who did a lot of nice things out of the slot. But what you really look at is the front four, because whereas Harold Landry was sort of a one-man band for the first 3 years of his career, he finally got some help with the likes of Danico Autry and Bud Dupree, big-time free agent signings, as well as Jeffrey Simmons taking a huge step forward in year 3. So again, while Jim Schwartz certainly helped the Titans defense, and I think his insight was certainly valuable, we would be remiss to ignore the fact that the roster totally transformed thanks to some great work by general manager John Robinson. And also, on top of that, Shane Bowen had a really, really nice year as defensive coordinator. You could do a whole separate 10-minute podcast on Shane Bowen and his impact. But what I really want to center on, because we said we would have 3 things that separate Tim Kelly and Jim Schwartz. The first being the resumes, the second being that Jim Schwartz didn't do it all himself, and expecting Tim Kelly to come in and do it all himself is not fair. But the third thing I want to talk about is the difference in problems. Because what held back the Titans defense in 2020, when it was totally unwatchable, when it was setting records for being historically bad on third downs, what was holding them back was really 2 things. It was poor communication, right? No one was on the same page. To quote Amani Hooker, they were all kind of working as independent contractors. They weren't working as one. Whereas in 2021, they were on the same page. Another thing is that the scheme was confusing. Right, we heard reports all throughout the season of players saying, hey, we're confused by this thing. We don't know what's going on. And you could see it in their play, right? Especially in the secondary, you saw guys kind of running around, looking around, not really knowing what was up, not really knowing what was going on. The scheme was confusing. Those were the 2 big problems plaguing the Titans defense. Those are not the 2 problems that plagued the Titans offense in 2021. Communication wasn't the problem. A confusing scheme wasn't the problem. The 2 big problems were, number 1, turnovers. Right, Ryan Tannehill threw a lot of interceptions. Lots of guys fumbled. Turnovers, number 1. And number 2, just bad play calling. Uncreative play calling. Receiver route combinations that weren't any good. And what that goes back to is Todd Downing. The problems with the Titans defense in 2020, we've come to find out, weren't so much Shane Bowen problems as they were Mike Vrabel problems. But I really think we know for a fact that the schematic issues with the Titans offensively come down to the offensive coordinator, Todd Downing. And as long as he is there, and as long as Ryan Tannehill stays in the turnover bug, which, he might snap out of that this year, we don't know. But if Todd Downing's not going anywhere, and I'm not saying he necessarily should, then I don't know why we would expect Tim Kelly, who's younger than Downing, by the way, by I believe 6 years, to mentor him into understanding how to call a good NFL offense. That's not to say the Titans' offense won't improve in 2021, and it's not to say that Tim Kelly won't be valuable. But if you think he's going to be some kind of savior, or if he's going to save the day, I think you're going to wind up being disappointed at the end of the season. That's it for this week's Tuesday Titans Tossup. Thanks so much for joining. I look forward to continuing to do these each week, every Tuesday, during the offseason here on A to Z Sports. Thanks for listening, whether you're on YouTube or the A to Z Sports Podcast Network. We'll see you next time.